Hello and welcome to Crash and Learn FPV. In today's episode I'm going to show you how to turn one of these into one of these. I ordered these 3S batteries, 1600 milliamp 40C, but I didn't read the specifications carefully enough and ended up ordering batteries that have the wrong connectors. The Ishin Wizard comes with a XT60 connector and these are called DIN connectors. So I've been flying with this adapter on my Wizard, which is fine, but it adds a bit of unnecessary weight and a bit of unnecessary length as well. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting off the DIN's connectors and soldering on the XT60 connectors instead. The most important thing when changing your battery connectors is to never ever cut off both leads at once. You always cut off one lead first, strip it, solder it to the connector, put on the heat shrink tubing, shrink it, otherwise you will short out and probably kill your battery. Right, so this is the way I do it. I'm sure there are better ways to do it, but after doing some YouTube research, I felt confident enough to do this. So to start with, I cut off the negative lead of my battery. Make sure to get a straight cut. Before I forget it, I always put on the heat shrink because it's really easy to forget this and end up having to desolder the wire again. So just cut a length of that, about 15 millimeters or something, and just put it on and put it as far away from the heat as possible. Then I just strip off about 5 millimeters maybe. Then you add some fresh solder to your iron. Wipe off the excess. And then you pre-tin the wire. And try to make sure the solder flows in between the strands of the wire. So it just doesn't sit on top of it. Then I take the XT60 connector, and important thing here, of course, is polarity and also which side you put on. So there's, as always, there's a male side and a female side, and the part that goes onto the battery is the female. And the reason for that, I guess, is that so you can't like touch the terminals with your finger. And the way I do it is I actually put these together so the plastic casing doesn't deform or like melt or whatever when soldering. Then you just have to note the polarity, and on XT60 connectors the side that is curved is the negative side, and this connector also has a small minus sign here and a plus sign on the other side. And then just put it down with some, I don't know, I think this is called blue tack in English, I don't know. Then I just preheat the connector for a while and then fill it up with solder until it is almost full, and the same for the other side. This is easier doing while there is no wires attached. Alright, there you have it. Get some solder filled up here and on the other side. And then we take our pre-tinned wire, melt the solder on the connector, and just put in our wire. Make sure you push it all the way in, let go of the iron, let it cool, and then I just put some extra solder on to get it really nice and strong. And again, make sure the solder flows in between the wires and like really flows into the wire. That looks decent, I guess. And yeah, that's not coming off. Then you just slide the heat shrink tubing on all the way in, Then if you have a hot air gun, you use that, but I don't, so I just use a lighter. And there we go. That looks pretty decent. And no exposed metal, no exposed wire strands, so there's no chance that this can short out with this now. So let's do the same for the positive lead. And basically what you want is a shiny surface or whatever. Just try to make it as even as possible. It looks good enough to me. Slide the heat shrink over and shrink it. There we have it. Just pull it apart. And we can use this side for our next quad. Let's plug it in and see if it works.